The prison block was so silent that even the buzzing lights sounded loud. Officer Turner walked slowly toward cell 12, his flashlight tight in his hand. Everyone inside ADX Florence had heard the alarm. Inmate Hale transferred to level black status. That was the highest punishment the prison allowed, almost no human contact, no talking, no freedom, nothing but walls. And now, somehow, a second alarm was going off. But it wasn't supposed to. The red screen on Turner's handheld device showed something impossible. Isolation penalty extended, an authorized command. He froze. That command could only come from the warden's secure terminal. But the warden was standing right behind him. "Turner," the warden whispered, "I didn't send that order." Before Turner could respond, the lights above cell 12 flickered once, twice, then turned a deep red. The door's lock sounded like metal cracking under pressure. A harsh robotic voice echoed through the hallway. "Emergency silence protocol initiated." The warden's eyes widened. "That's one of the harshest punishments we have. It shouldn't activate by itself." Turner stepped closer to the reinforced glass. Inside, Marcus Hale sat on his steel bed, hands folded like he'd been waiting for this moment. He didn't blink. He didn't move. He just stared at the door like he already knew what was coming. Then a sharp, loud clank shook the hallway. Another. And another. It sounded like the inside of the cell was sealing itself shut, tightening bolts, locking vents, closing every opening that let sound escape. A thick steel plate slid down in front of the glass, covering Marcus from sight. Only a tiny slit remained, barely wide enough to see a shadow. And then the floor shook. Officer Turner stepped back as the warden grabbed his radio. "What triggered this?" the warden demanded. "Who activated the silence protocol without authorization?" No answer. Only static. Officer Turner looked at the slit in the metal plate again, and this time, the shadow on the other side moved like someone standing up. That was the moment Turner realized something was wrong, far beyond the prison, far beyond the punishment system. Something had been set in motion. Something that was never supposed to happen inside the most secure prison in America. And the worst part, the silence protocol, was only the first punishment on the list. Turner swallowed hard, stepped back, and whispered, "What's going to happen next?" The warden didn't answer, because they both knew. This was only the beginning. Long before this moment, long before the alarms and the red lights, long before the harshest punishment in ADX started by itself, there was a story, one that explained how Marcus Hale ended up inside this fortress in the first place. It all started years earlier, when Marcus Hale was not yet known as the most dangerous gang commander in the U.S. prison system. Back then, he was just another inmate in a mid-level prison in Arizona. No Supermax. No sealed doors. No robot voices announcing punishments. But what made Marcus different, what made him feared, was the way he learned to control people without yelling, without fighting, without even touching anyone. He could walk into the yard, say 2 quiet words, and men twice his size would step aside. He never started fights. He ended them, without lifting a finger. By the time he'd spent 1 year inside, officers noticed something strange. Every argument, every stolen item, every conflict suddenly stopped whenever Marcus walked by. At first, they thought he was just respected. Then they realized it was bigger than that. Marcus ran everything. Food trades, smuggling, territory, even arguments between rival gangs. He wasn't violent, not in the way most prisoners were. Instead, he was precise, controlled, patient. He understood people. He learned their weaknesses. He used them. And that was exactly why he became a problem. It started with a small incident. A fight broke out in the yard between 2 groups. Officers rushed in, but before they reached the center, the fight stopped instantly. Not because of fear. Not because of injury. Because Marcus walked forward and said one single word. Enough. The news spread fast. If one man could calm a riot by speaking, what else could he do? That was when the federal prison system took notice. An investigator named Sarah Morris was assigned to his case. She spent days watching him through footage, day after day of Marcus not raising his voice, not swinging a fist, not even looking angry. "Why is he a threat?" one officer asked. Sarah pointed to the screen. "He doesn't need weapons. He doesn't need violence. He has people." And she was right. Within months, the groups under Marcus's influence grew. Not just inside one prison, but across 3. Guards intercepted letters with coded instructions. Phones that inmates weren't supposed to have revealed messages that made no sense, until someone realized they were commands. Commands that Marcus wrote. Commands that were followed without question. The government saw enough. He was labeled a communication risk of the highest order. The type of prisoner who could order riots or assaults from inside a regular prison. The type who could cause chaos without stepping outside his cell. And the only place built to hold someone like that was ADX Florence. When they transferred him, it was supposed to be simple. Marcus didn't fight. He walked calmly, hands cuffed, eyes steady. Even the officers escorting him said they felt uneasy, like Marcus knew something they didn't. He stepped inside his new cell, thick walls, constant monitoring, no contact with other prisoners, and nodded once, almost like approving the place. "This will do," he said quietly. It was the last full sentence he spoke for weeks. But ADX Florence had rules. Rules designed to break communication. Rules meant to cut off influence. Rules so strict that inmates sometimes forgot what normal life felt like. And on day 9 of his stay, Marcus learned what ADX Florence did to men who refused to break. It was called controlled silence period. One of the harshest punishments allowed. No speaking. No talking. No sound. Guards weren't even allowed to speak near the cell. A week later, he was given *** isolation extension, another extreme punishment, where even his recreation time was cut so short it barely lasted minutes. ADX had 7 major punishments. Marcus experienced 4 in the first 2 months. And he never complained, never yelled, never protested. But the punishment he received tonight, the emergency silence protocol, that one wasn't supposed to activate at all unless Marcus had done something extreme. He hadn't. And yet here it was, sealing him inside a silence chamber. But this story isn't about how those punishments are supposed to work. It's about what happens when ADX Florence, the most controlled prison in America, starts activating those punishments by itself. And tonight, for the first time in 20 years, the staff realized something terrifying. The harshest punishments ever allowed in ADX were only beginning. Officer Turner took one more step toward the sealed cell, his heartbeat loud in his ears. From inside the tiny slit, a shadow moved again. Something scraped against steel. And then, a sudden, sharp blast of sound hit the hallway, loud enough to make Turner drop his flashlight. A sound that wasn't supposed to exist inside the silence protocol. A sound that meant Marcus Hale was not alone in that cell. And the real punishment was just beginning. The blast of sound faded as quickly as it came, leaving the hallway in a thick, uncomfortable silence. Officer Turner steadied his breathing, but his hands were still shaking. The warden pressed the radio to his mouth again. "Control room, report. Who is inside cell 12? More static." Turner raised his flashlight and aimed it toward the slit in the metal plate covering the door. Nothing moved this time. No shadow. No sound. Just dark steel and the faint hum of machines. "Sir," Turner whispered, "should we open it?" The warden slowly shook his head. "Not until we know what we're dealing with." But they didn't get the chance to decide. Another alarm blared, this one deeper, slower, and far more dangerous. The kind that shook the air and vibrated the floors. The screen on the warden's handheld flashed. Punishment Protocol 4, sensory pressure activation, unauthorized. Turner swallowed hard. Sensory pressure. That's a psychological breaker. It's never been used at level black. "I know," the warden said, "because it requires 3 manual keys to enable. And none of us touched anything." Turner stepped back again. But something kept pulling his eyes toward the slit in the door. The scraping noise came again, slower this time. Like metal gently dragging across metal. "Marcus should be alone," Turner whispered. "Nothing, nobody, can get inside a level black cell without us knowing." The warden didn't look up from his device. "That's exactly what I'm afraid of." The lights flickered overhead. Then they dimmed. Then everything went completely black. Not for the whole prison, just the hallway containing cell 12. Turner froze. "Sir, they cut the hallway power manually." "No," the warden said. "Not manually. Remotely." Before either of them could react, backup lights flickered on, weak, red, emergency lighting that made every shadow look alive. Then a new message appeared on the warden's screen. Sensory pressure level, 18%. 23%. 30%, increasing. Turner whispered, "If it hits 50%, his mind could." "I know," the warden snapped. "That punishment is designed to break spies and terrorists. Marcus shouldn't even be on the list." "They are trying to break him," Turner said. The warden's voice dropped. "No, they are trying to test him." Turner turned sharply. What does that mean? Before the warden could answer, a faint thud hit the door from inside. Then another. Then a slow dragging sound, like someone pacing with their hand across the wall. Do you hear that? Turner whispered. Yes, the warden said, stepping back. And that's impossible. Turner didn't blink. Because Marcus never moves during punishments. The warden nodded. He doesn't react. Not even when the pain levels go up. But something is making him move. Both men watched the slit in the metal plate. A shadow stopped right in front of it. It didn't look like a person. It looked wider, taller. Turner took a step back. The warden whispered, Turner, Marcus isn't that big. The shadow stayed perfectly still. Then, a single fingertip slowly pressed against the slit from the inside. Skin. Human skin. But the finger was too large. Too long. Too twisted. Turner grabbed his belt. Sir, someone is in there. No one can be, the warden breathed. No inmate. No guard. No one. The finger slid away. And then something even worse happened. A voice whispered through the metal. Not Marcus's voice. Not a man's voice at all. A soft, calm whisper. He sees you. Turner stumbled back, his breath catching in his throat. The warden immediately grabbed the emergency intercom panel. Lockdown. Full corridor seal, now. Nothing happened. The system didn't respond. The screens around them flickered again and showed the same message. Command denied. Then another. Observation mode active. Turner's voice cracked. Someone's watching us. Not someone, the warden said. Something. The scraping noise came again from inside the cell, faster now, like something pacing. The metal plate vibrated under the pressure. Turner raised his weapon, though he knew a gun was useless here. What do we do? He whispered. The warden stared at the cell, his face pale. We get to the control room, he said. Whoever hijacked the systems will be exposed on the logs. A deep metallic bang slammed into the door, hard enough that the floor shook. Turner jumped back. The warden grabbed his arm. Move. They ran down the hallway, the red emergency lights flashing overhead. But as they reached the exit gate, Turner looked back one last time. The hallway was empty. The metal plate over cell 12 was completely still. No shadows. No sound. No movement. But in the red light, Turner noticed something carved into the steel slit, something that hadn't been there before. A word. One word, etched deep into the metal from inside the cell. Listen. Turner's blood ran cold. He whispered, Sir, what if Marcus isn't the one being punished? The warden didn't answer, because both of them knew something terrible. The punishments weren't malfunctioning. They weren't random. They weren't targeting Marcus Hale. They were targeting the people running the prison. And something, or someone, inside cell 12, was controlling them.